Still admitting a lot of folks. So for those of you who are just coming on, welcome. It's so good to have you. My name is Kerrie Henley. I am hosting this call today on behalf of the Fort Collins Nonprofit Networking Group. If you've just arrived, please put yourself in a gallery view for the moment so you can see all of us. It's on the top right-hand corner. And then on the bottom, click in the chat box, your name, what organization you're affiliated with, and your favorite dessert. Are we all getting so hungry? Oh my God, creme brulee, Ben & Jerry's Boom Chicka Boom, key lime pie. Oh my God, yes, 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 so good. So we're just getting here. I'm just still admitting everybody. So I'm just gonna be patient. I'm gonna mute everybody. So everybody will be coming in now muted. And then you have the capacity to unmute your screen at any time. You also can play with your own point of view. So as I asked you to click into gallery view, you can click through these different screens now and see we already have more than 75 people on this call. Please open your camera so we can see you and you can wave at each other and you can see who's here. See your friends, see your colleagues. Hi, everybody, way, woo, we're all at home, we're doing it. We're gonna shelter in place and we're gonna do it in style. We're gonna make this, we're gonna get through this together. So open up your cameras if you can, so you can just click through and see each other. And then be sure to pop in what organization you're with and your favorite ice cream, cake, pie,
where do we write that
whatever dessert in the chat box. So down at the bottom, you see a button that says chat, and you'll click that chat button and then type right in there. Now, one quick thing, if you're having a problem, if you see over there where it says everyone, there's a little tiny arrow next to it. And if you click that, you're gonna see every single person who's on this call. Now, this is not a free option to start passing notes and talking to your friends on the chat. Don't do that, because I can see you. Don't do it. But you can use it if you have a question. So if you wanna post a question, you can post it just to me, Kerrie Henley, or to the whole group if you want the whole group to see it. If you're having a technical issue, send it to me, and I will be able to respond specifically to you. Does that make sense? All right, so I'm going to ask everybody to go ahead and put it into speaker view. So when you do that, you'll see me big, and then whoever's talking will be big, and you'll see a little strip of everybody else on the top. It's a little bit easier for focusing. And then we'll go back so you can see everybody again near the end. We're gonna do a couple fun things with Zoom today. We're gonna goose this car, let you get to experience some of the fun features to allow you to do a little bit of networking with each other. But we have a very packed agenda today, and we have an extraordinary group of experts who have come together to share some of their information and resources for you. So let's just begin right now, and so happy to have Sarah Scobey here to do our introductions and to bring us all together.
Okay, hi everybody. Can you hear me? Hello?
Everybody wave at Sarah. Woo!
Sarah! All right, you guys, so here we are, the Fort Collins Nonprofit Networking Group, doing things differently in this, time of crisis. I just want to say thank you so much to everyone for coming on board and for our panelists and our speakers. Our topic for today is relevancy and resiliency. What are the short, mid, and long-term strategies required by nonprofits to survive this conference? Yes, to survive this crisis. So that will be our guiding theme. And Kerrie is a professional host, and she's going to walk us through this, and she will introduce, or let me just do a brief introduction of all of our speakers. So Kerrie is our professional host. She's a digital consultant and community builder, and you can read more on her bio that I've sent in the email. Elizabeth Martin is development director with the Fort Collins Museum of Art, and she's also a consultant that works with strategic plans, marketing and development for libraries, arts and cultural organizations. Maggie Dennis is a grant strategist with StoryForge. And then Kerrie Luginbill is Chief Strategy Officer and partner at Old Town Media. She's also president and chair of the Rotary Board of Fort Collins Satellite. And Kerrie is also board of director for Project Self-Sufficiency. Then we have Ella Fahrlander, who is the chief engagement officer for the Community Foundation of Northern Colorado. Claire Bouchard is VP of Community Impact and Engagement with United Way of Larimer County. And Kim Fisher is chief strategist at Vision Catalyst and a new nonprofit consultant with Larimer County SBDC. Okay, so I'll hand it back to you, Kerrie.
All right, so again, welcome everybody. You want to pop it into speaker view. If you don't have it there already, make sure your microphone is mute if it isn't yet. And I'm going to turn it over to Elizabeth Martin, who has a tremendous amount of experience in a variety of nonprofits from around the country. She's going to help you kind of set the context here for today.
Well, welcome everybody. You'll all get to see how many times I touch my face during an hour, as we're all not supposed to, and I can't seem to stop. I'm going to give the overall framework. I am a strategic planner, and who could have planned for this? I doubt there are very many agencies that were ready. Even if you had a crisis communications plan, in all my years of working with public libraries, which was in public municipalities, never had them all closed down before. So this is unknown times, and it's also hard for us to focus. We're distracted by the news. We're distracted by all the staff we have to plan for to work off site, and at the same time, we're distracted by our audience we need to serve. And what is the best form of service now? So I've developed a template that looks at short-term, midterm, and long-term actions that we can do during this time. And then the columns are divided into relevancy, what's immediate to our community. And it isn't so much what we think is relevant, it's what the audience is, it's relevant to the audience at this time. So if we think about that and what is relevant to my audience in the short term, how do I make that decision? This is the perfect time to pull out your mission statement. Look at your mission statement. If your mission statement has nothing in it about information about COVID-19, don't share it. So look at your mission. If your mission is not frontline service right now, then if yours was in-person programming, perhaps there's a way you can take your programming online. Next, you have to look at relevancy and sustainability. Sustainability right now, should we be running a fundraiser? This is a different answer for depending on what your service is. Again, mission will help you decide that. If you're the Fort Collins Symphony, offering symphonic music makes sense, keeps you relevant, right? But if you are frontline, it's the right time for you to be asking for money. It may not be the right time to run your gala. So in terms of sustainability for organizations that depend on people coming to the door, or were you about to do your fundraiser? As everyone in Fort Collins knows, the Fort Collins Museum of Art was about to launch masks, and how ironic, masks. How do you move that? I think for organizations that are not frontline, think about sustainability in laddering up your current audience rather than trying to attract new dollars at this time. And what do I mean by ladder up? Try to convert your audience to a membership. Try to convert your members to a 2-year member. Try to ladder everybody up in their level of giving in a way that they were already using you. This is not the time for a big ask, because all of us are focused on the frontline social service, and we don't want to distract. We don't want to be part of the noise. We don't want to launch a big fundraising campaign that we may not be able to raise big funds. And then how do we assess the effectiveness of that? So if you look at this model of a framework where we're doing short-term action, mid-term action, and long-term, because this could have a long-term effect. This could come back in the fall or winter. So we do need to start thinking ahead that way. We have to think about relevant messaging and marketing. And we have to think about long-term sustainability, and then who would be doing it and when. And this is a fluid plan. You revisit it every week with staff online, say, does this still make sense? I'm just trying to get the framework. I'm looking forward to hearing from the experts and some of the actual grants and things that we could be applying for at this time. So if I can be of help to anybody, you can email me later for this template.
So Elizabeth can put it into gallery view. I've taught my online audiences a fun little trick to recognize somebody instead of clapping for them. You put your hands like this and rub them together. So we're gonna just recognize Elizabeth. Thank you so much for that. So good. So now we have Kerrie, who's going to talk a little bit to us about communication and marketing in a time of crisis. So it's a great little dovetail to what Elizabeth was just queuing up. So Kerrie, take it away.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me. So as was noted before, so I am a partner at a marketing agency in Fort Collins called Old Town Media, and I primarily work with for-profit sector, but I'm heavily involved personally in the nonprofit sector. So it's kind of hard for me to separate marketing and communications from donor relations in this instance. But I think that times like this are a really good time for everybody to stop looking at marketing as advertising and marketing and selling and start looking at marketing like relationship building and communicating. My background's in public relations, and so this comes a little bit easier to me, but there are a couple of things that I have jotted down a few notes. Let me pull these out. I just lost them. Okay, so when I started thinking about this and I was trying to put something together, and it's going to be so different for everybody and really different for every different nonprofit because you guys are all serving different audiences, and for some of them, they're in immediate crisis right now. And that message is going to look a lot different than some of the organizations that are in crisis, but the people that you serve may not necessarily be in crisis when you compare them to some of the other organizations. And so there are really three things that I've defined every organization, for-profit and nonprofit, really need to focus on when it comes to communication right now. And that is timing, trust, and transparency. And what I mean by those three things, and they're very, very interwoven, it's that it's really important to communicate what's going on internally and externally for your organization. And it's important to do it quickly. It's important to do it quickly so that people know that you're paying attention, especially your donors and supporters. They want to know that you're on top of it, that you're paying attention to the sustainability of your organization, and that when they are choosing to give to you, that when things like this come up, you're going to take a proactive approach to addressing those. And it's really a communication tactic, but it is part of your marketing, right? It's the way that you tell people how you operate. It's the way that you can tell people to trust your organization. The other big thing is transparency. And so I saw a lot of organizations sort of sitting on information, not sure if they should release it yet because there's so much uncertainty. And the biggest tip I have is that it's okay to be uncertain in times of uncertainty. Everybody's uncertain right now. And so I think being transparent with that will help build that trust with your audience. And then the other thing is really around timing and transparency together. And so being mindful that it isn't the time to talk about certain things or to message and market certain things with the current economic state. So, you know, I like to practice this thing called social listening, where you spend time in your social media strategy, in the different things that you do from a marketing perspective, just listening to what's going on around you, and then trying to find ways that you can be relevant within those spaces. And if you can't, it's okay to hold back. You don't have to be a part of every conversation. And I think one of the big things is really making sure not to jump on a bandwagon. Really consider if your organization should be a priority. And if not, look at ways to support partner organizations or to help convey messages for those that actually should be considered a priority. I know that in times of uncertainty like this, everybody kind of feels like they need to hang on to their piece of the pie, but I think that you'll find that we'll all come out stronger together if you look at this as we're really a community. And the nonprofit sector in Northern Colorado specifically is a very tight-knit community. And so we need to really look at things in terms of what Elizabeth was saying, that short-term, mid-term, and long-term. The relationships and the strategies that you implement today in the short term are really, really going to be the things that people remember in the long term. And so being transparent, being communicative, being really, you know, tonal to what's going on, those things are going to roll up into being the best marketing strategy that you can have, because you're conveying what your organization is and how it operates. So that's all I really have there.
Great.
Well done. Thank you so much, Kerrie. I had myself on mute. Yes, that's the good old-fashioned recognition here. Thank you. I saw everybody taking notes, and I saw some of you are turning off your cameras. That's fine to do now. If you want to turn off your camera, I'll tell you when you can turn it back on. But it is nice to keep it on. Don't be shy. Keep it on if you can. So we're going to move into a little panel here to talk to you about community emergency loans and grants. And I'm going to have Claire go first from United Way, because she has to get off of the call first. So I'm going to have her begin, and then we'll go from there to Kim Fisher and then to Ella Fahrlander.
Great. Thanks so much, Kerrie. Hi, everybody. It's Claire. We're all working from home. It's so great to see you after a few weeks of working remotely. I'm just going to jump in and say big thank you to Ella and Ray at the Community Foundation of Northern Colorado. They contacted Annie and myself about 10 days ago with the idea of an emergency response fund for nonprofits and how to get funding into the hands of people that are most affected by the virus. So over the next 3 or 4 days, we put some framework together, and it really was a testament to our partnership. We've been working closely with the Community Foundation of Northern Colorado for many years, both in times of quiet and times of disruption. We're always here for the community and our nonprofits in order for them to do the work on the grounds. So right now we have more than $150,000 collected between the two agencies, and it's growing, which is awesome and exciting. We have a very generous community. We're rolling out the grant process now. Our first round of grants are due today, the end of the day, and our grant review committee will be reviewing those over the next 4 or 5 days, and we'll be getting back in touch with agencies early next week. This is a rolling grant, so we are going to keep soliciting and fundraising funds and keep that coffer full so that we can have every other week rounds of grants. And then real quickly, our priority areas that we're looking for are the human services and the basic needs of which they serve, including food security, housing stability, child care, access to work, kind of work re-engagement, and mental health. Ella, I wanted to call on you and see if I've missed anything.
No, Claire, that was a great overview. A couple of places you can look for additional resources on this fund. United Way has great information up on their website, as do we over at nocofoundation.org. Once you're on our website, if you hit across the top, you'll see a tab, and there's his projects, and then within that, it's NOCO COVID-19 Response Fund, and that's where you'll find the nonprofit application. And so get online, get familiar with it. As Claire said, our first round of applications is due today. Our goal is to keep it very simple for our nonprofits to apply and get money out when we need it, right now, right away. And we'll be announcing those first round of applications next Tuesday.
All right, that's perfect. Thank you both so much. So I'm going to have either Claire or Ella, if you guys don't mind popping into the chat, the link and the tabs. So just so everybody's super clear of how they can get to that. And then there's some questions that are starting to pop in. So let me just pose that one real fast. Is it a per household application or agency as a whole? Either one.
Agency as a whole.
Agency as a whole. So
yeah.
as you have
in Larimer County.
Larimer County, agency as a whole.
Yeah.
Great. So as we're going through our expert and our topics here, if you do have questions, just stick them in the chat, because we're a big group here today, and I will be working to kind of work those in as they come up and as they're relevant and we have some time. So you can look in the chat box that right now there's the link. If you didn't see that yet or didn't have it, you can copy and paste that and go into it later when you need to. All right, so now we're going to talk a little bit about funding and budgeting in a crisis, foundations, donors, and your dual bottom line with Maggie. So she has got a whole nother section of great information for you to take some notes. All right, Maggie, make sure you're unmuted here. There you go.
I did it.
Oh, yes, I forgot Kim. Hold on.
Oh, hang on.
Kim, wait, Maggie, hold that thought. I got so enthusiastic about everything. We can't miss Kim because she's got some awesome stuff to share too. So sorry, my bad. Kim, the mic is all yours, my dear. Except you're muted. We're having a mute war. So there you go.
There we go.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Well, as Sarah said, I am a nonprofit strategist with over 30 years experience as a nonprofit executive. So I've been in your shoes and having tried to work on some of these things. And it's obviously a difficult time when we're already in a stressed kind of a situation. The work that you do is so critical and important to the community, and obviously adding stress onto your constituents and of course to yourself is definitely challenging. So one of the things that I'm a new SBD consultant with the nonprofit consultant with the SBDC, and you may not even realize that you can actually get help through the SBDC as a nonprofit. So there is free consulting services through them. So one of the things that the SBDC is doing, the SBA, actually the government organization, is doing an economic injury disaster loan, the EIDL. And, for most nonprofits may not necessarily be applying for a loan, but it's basically for working capital used to pay debts, payroll, accounts payable, other bills. But of course, you have to demonstrate that you would have been able to pay them if the disaster had not occurred. So the application process, which is what I'm doing with the SBDC, I'm actually working with nonprofits through the application process. And, but again, what you're looking at is it's not intended to, kind of catch up for the year. It's really, you're going to have to demonstrate where your loss was, again, because of the current situation. So if you're interested in knowing more about this, it's a 30-year loan at 2.75%. If it's over $25,000, they require collateral and that kind of a thing. But you can go directly to the Larimer SBDC. You can contact them and they will send an appointment that you'd be able to meet with me and we go through the application together. So that's what the SBDC is doing for the community.
So good. How could I have skipped Kim? That was really important information and timely. I know everybody was looking at their phones because we all got the notice, right? Everybody's nodding. We got the emergency breakthrough, everybody's phones, Larimer County, stay home. So
no, I didn't see that happened while I was talking. Oh, sorry, just saw it.
There it is. So
I'm going to mute myself again here now.
You guys are right here, right on the front lines and managing with your own families and inner circles. So, all right. So now officially we get to go move over here to Maggie to share some of her insights for everybody about how to budget and fund in a crisis like this.
Okay, well, I think I've unmuted myself.
Yes.
And I guess I don't get to see me on the big screen. Anyway,
that's true.
That's fine. That's probably just as well. So yes, relevancy and resiliency is our theme today. And I'm hearing a lot of continuity from our presenters, which is great. And so I'm going to try to stick to that as well. What I did as I was thinking about this was look back at how nonprofits have fared in crises in the past, whether it's a recession, a natural disaster, 9/11, that sort of thing. Can we learn from the past? I guess I just put my historian hat there on for a moment. And this is what I've learned, so I'm going to try to keep this short, and if you want me to send you my notes after, I will. But the thing I want to let you all know is kind of reiterating what Kerrie Luginbill had said earlier, which is that organizations that assess their situation early will be able to make strategic decisions and avoid more severe decisions down the road. So even though this is a time of uncertainty and you might be in a kind of wait and see mindset right now, don't do that. We all need, every organization needs to be assessing their financial position right now and making some decisions that will help us as we move through this crisis. the first thing I want to point out is that you should be doing is assessing damage to your revenue streams. I guess this is last week we saw a lot of cancellations of fundraisers and events. Fee-for-service programs are getting jostled as they try to move those online. You may be experiencing loss of income if you have a facility that you can rent, so any earned income opportunities. I think that that's the most immediate thing that people are looking at, but you also want to be looking at the impact on your expenses, and here I'm thinking about fixed versus variable expenses. Fixed expenses you may not be able to do anything about. Variable expenses, there may be some cost savings, and you may be already seeing some decreased expenses, maybe unfortunately with payroll, but there may be some other things where you can actually be saving some money. So in other words, your cash flow is changing, and you should be looking at your cash flow on a maybe more frequently than you normally do, but certainly on a monthly basis, but maybe on a weekly basis with your board. There may be also increased expenses that you're incurring due to the crisis that you just never budgeted for, and that's where some of these emergency funds might become really important for you. Understanding your cash position also involves looking at how many months of cash reserves you have with no additional income. From a grant point of view, funders are usually, in most situations, looking for 3 to 6 months of cash reserves to sustain operating. If you have less than that, you're considered a risk. If you have more than that, normally, they might not be interested in funding you because you're full of cash. But generally, you want to look at your cash reserves because that will be changing frequently as well. And to update your cash flow projections to account for all of this change. The other thing is that I found out is to revisit your revenue streams and look to your strongest relationships. So I think Kerrie Luginbill had also mentioned this. Where are you spending your time when it comes to fundraising, donor relations, and speaking with your foundations that fund you? Hopefully you have strong relationships. That's where you want to be spending your time rather than going out looking for new sources of funding. Right now, unless you're getting emergency funding opportunities, that's what you want to be doing. And I've been telling my clients for the past couple of weeks to contact their foundations where they have active grants now. Don't wait for that interim report, that final report to come due. You may not be able to meet the reporting requirements. You may have to talk with them about shifting some funding to general operating, extending the grant period, loosening the reporting requirements. A lot of foundations are starting to do these things. You don't have to wait for them to contact you. You can contact them. And this may be a place also where Elizabeth can jump in, but considering alternatives to fundraising, like how do you do an online fundraiser? How do you connect with long-term donors in a way that is appropriate at this time? Elizabeth, did you want to jump in there for a minute?
I think that what both you and Kerrie said is really important is making sure you're transparent with your donors, that you are timely with the donors, and if there can be any changes. I think also looking to organizations uniting as a whole in the community to, for example, cultural organizations working together to save all cultural organizations. This is something we need to look at in the midterm, not the short term, but how can we all partner together and be one voice to save the cultural arts in the community? In the meantime, I think it's more about laddering your donors up. Could you help us by doing a 2-year membership rather than 1 year? Not asking for too much at this time if you are not relevant to what's going on during this crisis.
Yeah.
That's perfect. And I know, Maggie, as you wrap up, Kerrie was going to dovetail a bit once you're finished.
Right. Right. Okay. I am almost finished. So then the other way to look at this is what I would call the dual bottom line, which is looking at your impact. And, you know, it's kind of a triage approach. You might think that the best thing to do is to cut a percentage across all your programs. Like, I'm going to cut all programs by 10% or 50% or whatever. That's actually not very strategic. From an impact point of view, you want to consider funding your highest impact programs first and reducing expenditures on your lower impact programs, or put those programs on hold and shift resources accordingly. And it's up to each organization to figure out where that impact is. And as people have been saying, to stay focused on your mission and find that intersection of organizational strength and client need is really where you need to be spending your time and your resources and your money right now. And the other thing I want to tag on, and this will be a great place to bring Kerrie back in, is communication. The importance of including all stakeholders in these decisions, your staff, your funders, and your clients. You need to hear from the clients to know what they are experiencing right now. And it's absolutely fine to help these stakeholders understand the hardships that your organization is facing and that your clients are facing. So to close, I just want to reiterate where I started, which is, if you assess your situation early and make strategic decisions now, you'll avoid more severe decisions down the road, and we will all come out of this together. So thank you.
Thank you, Maggie. That's super helpful. Jen Parker has joined us with KRFC. She is on here, so if we have time and Jen wants to say anything, we'll bring her in as well. But go ahead, Kerrie.
Yeah, so I was just going to tack on a little bit to what Maggie was saying and talk a little bit more about some different tools that I would recommend each organization really look at using when communicating to your donors and to external audiences. So a couple of tips really quickly. Because it's such a quickly moving situation, we really recommend having a centralized location where somebody's maintaining some key messaging points that the entire organization can access, primarily because things are changing really quickly and you never know when one person has an impromptu meeting with somebody and then they ask a question about what their stance or a current situation. So keeping something like that on hand. The other big thing that I would recommend every organization do is identify a spokesperson for your organization if you don't have one. If you do have one, identify a second one. We are dealing with a pandemic, so you never know when somebody is going to become ill and then all of a sudden, you know, you're being asked to be quoted in an article. And so it's really important to have a backup spokesperson who's ready to go just in case. And then a couple of platforms just for communicating in general. So social media is the big one right now because everybody seems to be channeling their social distancing isolation issues into Facebook and Instagram. So definitely be on social media, but like I mentioned before, really practice some social listening so that you can plug in ways that make sense for your organization, and don't just put out information to put out information. I think we all, maybe we didn't all see it, but there was a meme running around talking about, well, now that I know how every company I ever purchased from is handling COVID-19, like I got 37 emails a day. So just be aware and plug in when necessary. The other big thing is email. So social media tends to be very quickly moving. There's a lot going on. A lot of people are on there. There's a lot of content being generated, and email is a more effective way to reach the people that are already connected to your organization. So leverage email, but don't over leverage email. So I really recommend not sending out, an email a week during this. I would say save it and push out emails when you have something very vital to say, because if you put out too much information, you're going to lose your audience. And this is the one area where you can really make sure that your message is seen. Another thing that I recommend is putting together a website landing page where you can house the different information, resources, different viewpoints, or if you are fundraising, if you had to cancel an event and you have gone online, or if you're putting together a campaign because you need emergency assistance, house all of that in one area and keep that up to date and leverage that as a platform for your content ecosystem throughout this. And then public relations. So reach out to the local media. If you are in a situation where your organization is in need of, emergency assistance. In my instance, I'm the president of the board of directors for Project Self-Sufficiency, and we have 90 participants, and they're single parents in Larimer County who have, housing issues now. Some of them have been laid off. They have transportation issues, and car dealerships are closing. So there's an emergency assistance fund that we're going to have to put together so that we can make sure that we don't end up with a bunch of participants that have to drop out of school, or they lose their housing, or they can't, make it to classes while they're also watching their kids. So making sure that you're putting that stuff out to the media, whether it be PSAs to radio stations, press releases to the different publications in town, because at some point they will aggregate that information and put it out for the good of the community. And I think we've seen that happen with the food bank, who's received some coverage. But don't be afraid to send that out to the media. If they don't pick it up, send it again. And, if they don't cover it, ask why. Sometimes I just reach out to reporters and I say, hey, is there a reason that this isn't something that you're biting on? And sometimes they'll say, you know what, we've gotten so many, we're going to package them all out and we're going to put them in one article together. You don't know until you ask. And then the last thing that I was going to mention, and this really goes back to what Maggie was saying, but really direct communication with your existing donor base. Reach out to them and see how they're doing. Talk to them, especially corporate donors. And I say this because Project Self-Sufficiency, a big effort of ours, is transportation for single parents, and car dealerships are being hit pretty hard right now. So just reaching out to those corporate donors and saying, hey, I know that this is hard. How are you guys doing? Like, how can we help you? Because those relationships are going to outlast this. And it's really important to remember that we're not the only ones in crisis. Small businesses are also in crisis. And beyond that, take into consideration your in-kind donors, restaurants, who has given to your organization without giving cash. Those are typically your small businesses that are being the most impacted right now. So, direct outreach in terms of phone calls, ask your board, ask volunteers, leverage the people that you have in your organization to pick up the phone and call, to send personal emails, to do some direct outreach, to strengthen those relationships in this time, because that's really going to be impactful for your organization. So that's all.
So good. Thank you, Kerrie. That was awesome. I want to lob a quick question to Ella and Claire before they have to pop off, and then give Jen Parker a chance to say hi real quick. So the question was, are you seeing any trends in the types of emergency grants that are being made? And is there any general consensus on what information is being asked for?
Ella, do you want to answer that and then I'll follow up?
Sure. So we're just receiving grant applications and we'll be reviewing them now. But something that Claire and I have heard from a lot of nonprofits about is needs, in order to provide emergency services, they have needs, financial needs around staffing and supplies. And so I'm going to say that's been one of the consistent messages that I've received. The other thing that we're looking at, and we've heard in this conversation, is there's a lot of noise in the grant making space, but it's good, it's relevant noise. And so as we go through this first round of grant applications, we're really going to have the opportunity to look at what people are asking for, what the needs are, and then evaluate some other opportunities that are out there. I just had a grant opportunity come through today from Kaiser Permanente, and they're making grants around homelessness. And so that's a really important opportunity for folks who are serving homelessness, people who are experiencing homelessness, to know and understand. And so that's something that United Way and the Community Foundation will be taking into account as well. What else, Claire?
I was just going to say that we put out a survey late last week to our nonprofit community asking for what their needs are, both from volunteers to funds to supplies and equipment. And we got more than 24 responses. And really, I haven't read every single one, but they're all around those basic needs. And the fact that security has really been pulled out from underneath us, and a lot of people that were working in the service industry, in the hospitality industry, their childcare situation has been compromised, their access to cash has been compromised. So how can we help those that are seeking assistance from like the Project Self-Sufficiency and other agencies that are serving those frontline people? So we're excited about the applications that are coming in today and for supporting the community.
Thank you guys so much. So I'm going to see if Jen can say hi, because we do have some folks about how do you contact the radio station to get a press release. So Jen, thank you for joining us today.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, hi everybody. Wonderful to see so many fantastic friends on the call. And you know, we are in a new mode, all of us at the station. Just a sort of little perspective, we have about 140 people that go through our building, our station a week, 90 programmers with 74 uniquely programmed shows, of which 54 are live. And I've reduced that a week ago to 2 people in the station from all of that. We have a morning programmer from 8 to noon who is live in studio. And then we have an afternoon programmer from 3 to 6. Other programs are pre-recorded at DJs' homes that have the capacity to do that. And then other than that, we're just airing reruns and segments. And then we have a thing called automation. So for all the nonprofits in the community, you know, we want to try and do everything we can for everyone. So we're just trying to sort of organize that and how that looks. We've been doing some generic outreach on social media and on air about certain specific organizations. And we're being general as well about, you know, look to your chosen nonprofits that you're already working with. There's so much need right now. We've reached out to the food bank, and then obviously I'm in close contact with Claire at United Way. We've also had the president of the Community Foundation on air as well. We have the ability to do phone interviews, and we can pre-record those and get them on air within minutes because we can't have visitors in the station. And I don't know if you guys got the same alert, but while we have been on the phone, Larimer County just announced the stay-at-home ordinance from 5 p.m. tomorrow. So we've been in 3 phases at the station. The first was reducing how many people. The second was reducing. Worst case is that we don't have anyone at all and we're just in automation with music. Now, we're actually seen as an essential business because we have a signal and we're a community station, we're not commercial. And the alert systems automatically take over our signal when there's a weather alert or a catastrophe or like a flood or anything. So we get to stay on air and we actually can have people in the studios. So we're going to try and keep those live shows on. My email, most of you have, but it's jenp@krfcfm.org. If there's specific needs that you can think of that we're not addressing for you, email me. And what we're trying to do is create some kind of daily buzz around really thoughtful programming for the community around this crisis, and also on social media. We're working with our graphic designer right now to build out a kind of pod on our website called Community Hub. And in there, we will have lists of nonprofits and their contact information and their web addresses, etc. One thing that might be worth looking into for any of you, if you have quote unquote a virtual event going on, like a fundraiser or something you might be doing on Facebook Live, or anything you can do to get creative about creating an event around your fund drive or need, like a drop-off or something like the food bank or anything. If you go to our website, krfcfm.org, and click on our brand new NoCo event calendar on the top of the homepage, you can submit your own event, and there's actually a community stroke nonprofit category that we just added last week, and you can add a virtual event. So it's just like adding an event, but it's just virtual. So it would have a link to where it's going to be and at what time or what time frame. When you add it, we have a team that approves each event. And so do use that as that calendar builds out, and as we hopefully get back to normal. That resource, we believe, can be great for you, that if you want to host a big event, you can look at that calendar to make sure there's not another conflicting nonprofit event that night. So you can use that as a planning tool for your events and fund drives. Other than that, wow, and here we go. We've made it nearly through another day.
Mm-hmm. Jen, we're all waving at you. I don't know if you can see us on the screen, but we're giving you a big thank you.
I can. You're very brave. I'm hiding behind my
So we're going to take the last 10 minutes and let you guys chat with each other. So this is the brave part. You need to open up your camera if you can, so you have a chance to chat with each other. That's one of the beautiful things about Zoom, and one of the beautiful things about this time is that you have a chance just to connect with each other. So in a second, you're just going to go into just a short breakout group. So you can do some resource sharing. How can you move forward together? So you're going to see a little screen pop up that says join breakout group. Don't be scared. If you don't have your screen up, you can just talk with your audio. We're just going to do that for about 5 minutes. All right. So you're going to see a little sign that says join breakout group, and then we'll come right back into a large group to wrap it up. All right, here we go, everybody. All right, so those of you who are still here with me in this room, you either haven't clicked your button to go into a breakout group, or you weren't sure how to do that. So I just want to have you take your mics off of mute if you're having a question, if I can help you with that, or if you just want to stay here with me, that's fine too. All right, so Linda's back. Hey, Linda.
Hey, yeah, for some reason, the person who popped on dropped off, so we were
okay, so you came back. That's fine. So we'll just conduct a small group right here. So we have a couple of frozen screens, and Doreen's chatting with somebody. I don't know what's happening with everybody else, but hey, we're in a group here. So if anybody wants to connect resources, those of you who don't have your screens on, you may be calling in, you're welcome to unmute your mic and introduce yourselves to each other and connect a little bit. So why don't you start, Linda, just kind of what are the things that you're seeing that you're most concerned about, or the resources that you would have to contribute?
Well, this is an interesting day for me because this is my third nonprofit networking meeting today. And the other two have been here in Washington, all on Zoom calls with the Puget Sound Grant Writers Association. They were talking a lot about the same kind of things that we were just talking about in terms of trying to connect with other nonprofits, identifying what you want to seek funding for, utilizing existing donors and funding sources that you have to be able to get that funding, and reaching out to the foundations who have already funded you to let them know about what your needs are. And so it's been really interesting to kind of see all that. And for me, I've individually just been kind of a little, I have been for the last week, pretty much we've been just us. like I'm alone in my my boyfriend is an essential worker, and so he has been working these really long hours. So I've been at home kind of by myself and kind of desperate for contact. So it's been really nice to do this.
Good. So glad. Awesome. So I'm glad you could share. So anybody else want to pop open your mic and share what's going on in your world? Please do.
Well, I'll start. This is Trish Will, and I am on really representing two organizations in Loveland. Alternatives to Violence, and I do know that our executive director and one of our other board members was on. I think as a board, we're really trying to help and support our executive director navigate the challenges of today. And I would have to say probably staffing is of our greatest concern right now, to staff the Safe House, which is a communal living situation. And then my other hat today really is Kids Pack, and we are trying to work very hard to augment the food that Thompson School District is providing those kids who are food insecure. And you know, I think both organizations are in a good spot with good people, but everybody wants to help right away. And my biggest concern is that this is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And while we're all out of the gate right now, we really have to figure out how we're going to do this over an unknown length of time.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that is the crazy, scary thing. I have a daughter who is a medical student in Madrid, Spain. She's right in the hot zone. And so we've been hearing daily horror stories that's not always coming through the American news about what's going on over there. And it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better, without being dramatic. But certainly what we're seeing is teaching us that we better prepare ourselves for a long haul. So I'm going to close out the breakout groups, and that will give everybody about 60 seconds to come back to our big group, and then we'll be able to just wrap everything up together. So thank you guys for participating in our little small group. So everyone's going to start coming in. It's sort of fun to watch this. You should put on gallery view. It's one of my favorite things to do when I do these events, is you start seeing everybody piling in, piling in, piling in. And then those who don't stop talking, they all get dumped in after 60 seconds automatically. So it's really fun to watch. All right, welcome back everybody, as we are closing out the breakout groups. The last of the breakout groups will be coming back here in about 20 seconds. You might want to put it into gallery view for the last part of our meeting so we can all see each other as we're closing out our afternoon here together, getting ready to go back into managing our own days and lives. So go ahead and pop it into gallery view for that last little bit here.
Move forward in that direction, you should.
So hi everybody, you're all getting dumped back in here to the call together. Pop it into gallery view. It's really fun to see all of our faces again. So we're coming up to the very top of the hour of this call. We're going to be right on time, so everybody has an opportunity to get back into your day. But just take a moment and just click through the screen. Just look at everybody. Just see, these are your friends. These are your colleagues. These are your resources. These, yes, wave to each other. This is your community. No matter where you are right now, no matter where you're sitting, no matter your overall emotional state, you have each other, and you have a tool here to see each other. You have tools. We are in a new world that we can manage a global pandemic in a way we never have before. We can share information, we can share resources. You can use tools like this to conduct board meetings, committee meetings, family meetings. You can play massive multifamily charades. You can have cocktail parties. You can have book club. You can play poker. You can do all kinds of things to remain connected to each other. So I just want to thank everybody and give Sarah an opportunity to say her goodbyes. I can't even find you on the screen here. So go ahead, Sarah, pop open your mic wherever you are. I can't find her. Where'd she go? You have to unmute yourself.
Yep, got it, got it. Hi. All right, so thank you so much for kind of being the test case and being, you know, willing to participate in doing things differently, that we need to pivot, go to our plan B, come together as a sector, share resources, communicate, know that we're going to be continuing to do these networking sessions remotely, and I will be sending out the links that everybody mentioned and posting them on the Facebook page. And I can't thank our guests enough, because this was all pulled together kind of last minute, but you guys have been brilliant. So I hope this has been helpful. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Sarah. We have this meeting recorded. We'll be sending that to everybody. We had the virtual elbow bump. So there we go, virtual elbow bump, y'all. Stay safe, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. And we'll be getting back in touch with everyone at some point if another one of these is going to be scheduled. When you watch the recording, you'll be able to see the chat as well. So you'll be able to re-access the information and the links that are in here. And I will try to post that and send it off to Sarah shortly after this call is completed.
And I'd like to thank you,
everyone.
Kerrie. Thank you for giving us your time and your expertise.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Everyone, take good care. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.